So, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Priya, and I'm the moderator for this webinar. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any question during the presentation, just type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel, and I'll bring them up at the end of the presentation. And we'll also have time for the Q&A session at the end. And we'll also be sending the deck shared during the webinar for your reference over the email. Now, I would like to turn the time over to our presenters for today's session. Sanjeev Jamba and Kanan Vasudevan. Can we move on to the next slide? Yes, so Sanjeev heads the sales and account management in Spectra and comes with more than 2 decades of experience in this domain. And on the other hand, Kanan heads the product development and management in Spectra and comes with a decade-long experience in the same domain. Both of them comes with the mindset of improving customer experience and delivering innovative solutions for digital transformation for organization across industries. Now, I just want to help you with the agenda today. 1.5 years into the pandemic, and close to half the world's students are still affected by partial or full-time school closures. This pandemic has changed the schooling or education system forever, which was prevalent from more than 2,500 years. Thankfully, we are heading towards heading from disruption to recovery now. New age educators are giving way to a hybrid learning system, and hence education 2.0. Sanjeev and Kanan will help us understand how can schools like yours design better solutions to maximize student engagement in the current scenario, which is like not now normal situations. You can also reach out to these guys, Sanjeev and Kanan, on LinkedIn as well for any query you may have, and I'll post their LinkedIn IDs on the chat box. Now, without any further ado, Sanjeev and Kanan, over to you.
Thanks, Priya. Welcome everyone. A warm welcome from Shyam and the Spectra group. It's really happy to see that so many people from different functions of the school have joined the webinar. It only proves our belief that there is still a lot of learning that we can share with the school community. And I could see a lot of interest being shown. The diversity of the participants, starting from principals and vice principals to IT administrators and technology people, it's a real good mix of participation, I would say. And we have been doing webinars for the last, I would say, 6 months, from the beginning of the year probably. And then we had the topics changed from a solution perspective. What we earlier used to do was, we used to do webinars and solutions like managed SD-WAN or a managed Wi-Fi. Then we thought that why shouldn't we start focusing on segments? Primarily the way COVID has affected a lot of segments in different ways. We felt that apart from corporate India, the next major impact was on the schools who moved from a completely old school model to something very much online. And then now they are going to a mix of teaching methodology. So what we have done over the last 1.5 2 years is we have interacted with a lot of these people, school administrators, teachers, principals, and even the parents, and to some extent the senior children as well, and got to know what did they do during the pandemic and what is their expectation in terms of future schooling. How do they want the technology to support themselves? So this webinar is, I would say, a culmination of all those discussions which we had with different focus groups. And between me and Sanjeev, we will take you through the ideas and the observations and the technology support that can be enabled in the next 45 minutes. Before we start, a brief introduction about me. I am a senior marketing professional with more than 2 decades of experience. I had worked with big brands like Tata's and Reliance Jio. I am with Spectra for the last 6 months. Like Priya said, I am heading the products and features division. We want to keep the webinar as interactive as possible. So please punch in your questions as and when it pops up in the chat box. We will definitely handle each one of them towards the end of the presentation. I would request Sanjeev to start the webinar for the day.
Okay, very good evening to all of you. Thank you so much, Kanan, and thank you so much, Priya. Before I introduce the group, let me give you a quick introduction about myself. My name is Sanjeev, and I take care of sales and account management for Spectra. I've been in Spectra for close to 4 years now. Prior to Spectra, I have spent almost a decade in Airtel, and prior to that, I was in BPL Mobile. So a large experience in the similar kind of domain. But the topic which we have chosen today is very, very interesting. And the reason why we are saying interesting is that when we are moving out of COVID, this is actually a very, very unpredictable kind of a behavior, especially for education, wherein there are schools which are opening, there are kids which are going to the school, there are kids which are still learning from offline and online, and there is a mixed environment altogether. Considering that, we thought that it is the apt time for us to take up this particular topic and tell that, okay, what have we learned from various schools, and basis that what is the possible challenges and the solution which we will take it through. But before that, a introduction about the group. So Spectra, the brand, is part of Sham Telecom as a group. Sham Telecom largely consists of two group companies. One is Sham Spectra Private Limited, which has been known as Spectra, and second is the Vihan Networks Limited, which is known as VNL. The geography in which we operate is predominantly pan-India, with our offices across all the metro cities. Our network operates from these metro cities, and also we are present through the various tie-ups which we have with multiple operators. We are currently operating in 137 cities. The segments which we are largely focusing on are divided into 4 segments. First one is network as service, which wherein we have deployed solution for large and medium enterprises. The solutions cover managed Wi-Fi, SD-WAN, security, and LAN solutions. Then the second segment is fiber broadband internet connectivity, again for a lot of these small and medium enterprises, small carrier business also, and homes business. Third, we also have a business on infrastructure and voice, wherein we cover the SIP trunk and the VoIP services. We also have an in-building coverage solution also, which we have deployed through infrastructure. And lastly, something which we have just done in the last 6 to 7 months, courtesy our learning from COVID, the entire concept of artificial intelligence and the machine learning, wherein we have a visual analytics and solutions which we have developed. The scale on which we operate across the country, we've got 6,000 kilometers plus optical fiber, which we have laid down. We currently have 230 plus point of presence across the country, through which we cover 3 lakh homes and also 1 lakh business parcels and business customers. Our presence, where we are already present in terms of the number of customers who have got connected, is in 137 plus cities. We have I would say a service operation center and a managed service operation. The NOC operates 24/7. And most importantly, the reason why we are talking about with such kind of an experience is because we have been doing this business for more than a decade now. There has been immense learning over a period of time, starting from connectivity and going to the managed services solution. And now today we are talking about various new solutions, artificial and machine learning. So this was a quick introduction about myself and the group. And now, without waiting any further, I would request Kanan to take us through the entire learning which we've got from schools, and what is it that the current challenges, and how do we suggest or recommend that we can solve those challenges. So Kanan, over to you.
Thanks, Sanjeev. Good evening once again. So I am briefly covering at a high level what we are going to discuss in the next half an hour or so. So we will be starting with what is the expectation from next generation schools. These expectations are from the schools, the parents, the teachers, and all other stakeholders alike. Next, we will be talking about a few points on how COVID has impacted the Indian schools, how they moved from old schooling model to online, and how they managed to come out successfully last year. And now they are in a different situation now, where they have to transition to a hybrid model. hybrid, I mean, it's an offline and online schooling, and there are other government regulations that needs to be implemented operationally. So we will talk a few minutes on that. Then we talk about digital highway goals for a school. So if a school has to undergo a digital transformation, what are the key milestones or key requirements that they need to achieve before they actually become a full-fledged digital school? And then after discussing the solutions and the situation, we will spend a few minutes on what is the next step. So we talk about solutions and how do we go and proceed and implement these solutions, and what are the various business models available in the market from different service providers, telcos, managed service provider, ISPs, and everyone. And we'll have a Q&A post that discussion. Let me share with you some of the findings that we have been able to identify. Like I said in the beginning, we had several focus group meetings with schools, parents, administrators, even government officials. Some of these are the outcomes of what we have learned from them. What everyone feels is that the pedagogy methodology is going to undergo a drastic change. We had an offline methodology pre-COVID. We moved to an online post-COVID, and we are now moving to a hybrid pedagogy model. So this is the way that the educators and the authorities feel that it's going to happen in the country. While globally this has already taken place in many of the advanced countries, we are seeing that this is the trend that is going to catch up in India soon. When this methodology comes into picture, it is not about the teachers who are going to be the source of learning for them. There are going to be smart classrooms, smart boards, and IoT devices. So we are seeing a lot of penetration going to happen into these segments from an IoT perspective. This essentially leads to the fact that the content which the students will access has to be available everywhere and anywhere through any device, be it classrooms, be it online from home, be it from their campuses, wherever they are, they need to have access to the content. Which leads to another question: what will happen to the practical experiments that the schools teach of the pre-COVID era, right? From a personal experience, I would say the higher institutes of learning, my son is already in engineering, and I see a lot of virtual laboratories that they are using for teaching the kids, except for a few subjects like chemistry, where physical presence in the lab can only teach them and nothing else. Many of the other subjects can move to a virtual model. This we are seeing trend currently in the higher education institutions, and we hope to see that this will get percolated down the line to lower schools also. And something which is happening in the country, the self-paced adaptive learning. A lot of education startups have already complemented the school learning with this model. And given the nature of change in pedagogy that is going to be expected in the school, I think adaptive and self-paced learning will also become a part of the formal schooling model. And there are some lofty expectations from the teachers and the schools alike, and the use of technology, an immersive learning experience with use of artificial reality, be it a kindergarten kid or a higher secondary guy who is learning his ropes into the technology industry. And with all these comes a specific need for measurements. How do you measure performance of kids, measure performance of teachers in the new way of teaching? So this is where we see that platforms like artificial intelligence and machine learning are going to contribute a lot. While these are the expectations that we see from the various stakeholders, how do we achieve this? What is the backbone, bare backbone needed for achieving these? So as a communication provider, as a managed service provider, we very clearly know that the basics of connectivity is nothing but a high-speed, seamless connectivity that ensures that the content is available to them everywhere. As I said, the new platforms that will allow the schools and the teachers alike to measure the new matrices of student performance. the security and the health measures which will be mandated, and the security, information security from a perspective of how do you protect your devices. And last but not the least, there are a lot of non-core activities which non-teaching staff do these days in the schooling operations, like monitoring of entry and exit and things like that, where technology platforms can add a lot of value and improve efficiencies and productivity. So this is the discussion on how the future schooling is going to look like. But what is the status quo right now? As we speak, this is the impact of COVID on the Indian schools. The challenges they faced initially in the March, April 2020, they didn't have a platform to teach online, right? They were relying on the teachers, using Zoom meetings and video conferencing chats. Then slowly and slowly, Toppers Learning and various kinds of application platforms came into picture. That helped them a lot to sail through the online coaching mechanism. Then there is the challenge of connectivity at devices and students. So as people started moving to rural areas, connectivity became a challenge. Even though the initial stage, I had personal experience when we went to buy laptops and devices for their schools. And then obviously the laboratory needs in the school. I don't think much of the laboratory experiment happened in last year. It's my personal experience from my children. And the examination and the evaluation process. Schools came out wonderfully well out of this process. They created online examination, they created Google Forms. Even though we can say that it's not the best of the effort, but Indian schools definitely made a good impact on leveraging the platforms available and completed the last 2 years successfully for kids. Otherwise, 2 years of academic period would have been wasted for these kids, I would say. That said, what is it that they are facing today? As we stand today in October, November 21, there's a hybrid transition happening. And you can see a lot of different set of challenges are being faced by them. The teachers have to teach online in the morning, offline in the afternoon, or vice versa. And they need to have a seamless experience. When teacher is teaching offline, the methodology is different. When the teacher is physically present, it is different. And now that the schools are open, should they open the physical laboratories or they continue to do virtual labs? And obviously, government is also implementing a lot of COVID mandates because the lower school kids are not vaccinated so far. The kids below 18 years are still at the risk of COVID. So how do we manage this transition? This is where the status as of today we see for schools. Given this background, how do we take on to the digital journey? These are the 4 pillars that any school should take it as a milestone for achieving the digital journey. One is a seamless connectivity. We talk about each of these in the subsequent slides. And other is the security of devices, of users, of data, of platforms. And how do they automate their non-core activities, and how do they give complete hybrid experience to all people, including students and the teachers. So when we talk about connectivity, it's not that's the reason why we use seamless connectivity, because it has to be available to everyone, every device, every part of the school, be it in campus, out campus. Some of the key headings that I have put on the top line, I would say, infrastructure. It's very important that the connectivity infrastructure is available and deployed and maintained in the highest quality. Then you have a lot of users, different segments of users, I would say, students, teachers, visitors, office staff. So variety of users needing different types of accesses. Right? And you have different set of vendors. Someone providing Wi-Fi, someone providing internet, someone providing something else. And then if you want to have a seamless connectivity, then a single service provider or a single internet connectivity will not help. You need to have more than one. How do you do a backup? How do you keep that consistent performance and things like that? And there's a question of scalability, right? So scalability can be temporary or scalability can be permanent. For permanent, I would say an example of a kindergarten school growing into a primary and then secondary and a higher secondary. So it's a linear growth and it is easy to manage. But on a temporary nature, for example, a good branded school who conducts all the symposiums and the Olympiads and everything, and they're doing gameathon, hackathon, there is a lot of need for temporary bandwidth, temporary user connections and stuff like that. So when people come in droves to take part in the symposium, they need to be given access to Wi-Fi with some high speeds. So that is the scalability that needs to be available when we talk about seamless connectivity. So with all these, what are the basic essentials that operationally a school should look at? Right? That's what we have mentioned it as features here. They need to have a centralized reporting and management so that there is no features in the performance. The Wi-Fi is seamlessly accessible across the campus when someone moves from one building to another, from computer lab to classroom, from classroom to hostel. And because it is internet access, you need to be very rigid on the regulatory compliance requirements. And in spite of all security or complaints, how do we give a wonderful experience to the kids or the user who are accessing internet? And how do you make sure that you provide a secure login to anyone, everyone, including visitors? That's why when you talk about seamless connectivity, it's a sum of many parts and it's a very complex solution and it requires a lot of expertise in terms of deployment. Next, we move to the security part. While connectivity ensures that people are accessing the content they want, the data they want, they're able to participate, but there is a lot of exposure in terms of cyber attacks. You would have heard a lot of hacking and things like that, and especially when kids are using tablets for their classes day in and day out, they are exposed to a lot of unwanted, I would rather use the word criminal because the intent is criminality in nature when they are attacking this system. So what we are showing here is actually a case study. This is of a school which is one of the biggest brands in the country with many branches across the subcontinent. And because of the pedagogy nature, the way the kids are, they are smart enough, they are intelligent, they participate in a lot of competition, they win accolades, they even start creating patterns when they are in the higher secondary nature. So the school gave a very specific mandate for us, which we have put out here. They want to protect the research data. They want to protect the patterns that are getting created. They want to protect the school assets from attacks. And they also want to protect compliance and ensure sensitivity of the research data that they are creating, the kids are creating, because it's a very high real stake situation here. So what we did, we deployed a complete 360-degree solution there. What eventually they got it. So we develop and deploy many technologies in the backend. What school got are, these are the 4 key things. They were able to give secure access to users, no malfunctioning, no abuse of network, nothing can be done. Prevent unauthorized access to any websites. So they have put a mandate saying we have to allow only educational websites, we have to stop other unwanted websites. So we did that. And they wanted access from outside, which means they have to create a VPN to the proprietary content data that they have. We did that. And we also what we ensured is that anything which is unauthorized, be it devices or users, is straight away rejected then. So it ensures that the platform and the data and the user contribution to the patterns and everything remains in safe hands. This is how the security has to be in a school if they have to take the digital path. And next we come to automation. I will give a little heads up before I talk about what is written here. So when you are moving from the current online model back to a hybrid model, apart from the regular teaching and the learning methods that you are going to do for the kids, non-core operations like managing the queues, implementing COVID mandates, implementing sanitation behaviors. So how do you do that? So today, as I visit my children's school, there are a lot of people involved in it. One person is doing the heat temperature checking, one person is doing managing the crowd, ensuring that people stand behind certain distances. Can we do that manually? Yes, of course we can do that manually. There is nothing that we cannot be done manually. But how do you bring efficiencies into the system? How do you bring productivity enhancements? And how do you ensure that you remain compliant to the government? That is when artificial intelligence and machine learning platforms actually do a lot of help in any business for that matter. So we are referring to what IVIS, if you see the title, IVIS is one of our products. It's called an artificial intelligence vision. This works on a complete video analytics derived from the existing CCTV infrastructure of any business, of any school. For example, I would say you want to mark attendance for the kids entering the school or entering the classroom or something like that. You can do that without any human touch. We can do face reading, we can do minimal human touch attendance registration. And how do you monitor the health? For example, temperature check. Thermal cameras are available which will do this job for you. You don't need to employ a person to do this on a day-to-day basis. It will avoid repetition. It will avoid human errors. Especially, and then the next thing is hygiene checking. Have they sanitized their hands while they are in the entering the rooms and all? We can put cameras over there. We can ensure that every person coming into that premises is doing sanitation checks and everything, and alerts can be generated. And this ensures that you follow all the COVID protocols, you follow all the compliance management required from the government. And at the same time, if you look at what we have written at the bottom, is that you enhance your productivity with real-time alerts. We can accelerate investigation. An example could be a person or a kid who is entering the premises is detected with a higher temperature, right? It becomes a red flag immediately in the system, and we can take that person away. We can protect them, quarantine, whatever process that we want to do. And everything is available in the dashboard format. The performance is available. If you look at the way the school will be after implementing these kind of platforms, it's several notches above your current performance. So we spoke about three things now. One is the connectivity, the security, and automation. All said and done, how do you do this? Or what are the challenges that these schools might face when it comes to implementing these solutions? We have put a very high level question that immediately comes up in somebody's mind. How do we deploy such a huge infrastructure? How many user groups are there? How do I manage them? How much money you need? You need lakhs, crores, thousands, how much you need? And do you need dedicated resources to manage it? Either you employ someone who is skilled at it, or you upskill a person who is already in the school. And we talk about so many solutions, right? Communications, security, and video analytics. So if these come from different vendors, how do you manage that? That's a big headache for anyone. And are there solution providers available in the market? Yes, of course. We are one of them. There are many others in the market. So what is the best way for anyone to look forward to while adopting technology and while taking new steps into a domain which is not their core business? What we call as managed services. An example, managed services is nothing new. I'll give you a couple of examples which proves that it's not something new. For example, when you are giving your AMC contract for an air conditioning unit, it's at the end of the day managed services, right? He is coming and repairing at your time, and when he does frequent, you in an AMC you do 3 times visit in a year. This is kind of a managed service. You are taking a car on hire purchase. You are not paying upfront. You are paying it over a period of time, and at the same time you also get service. There is an AMC attached. These are plain vanilla real life examples of managed services. If you look at the same in the domain of IT and networking, let me cover what are the key benefits of managed services. First and foremost, the cost, right? If you're doing it on your own, you will end up spending a lot of money, which is not required in case of managed services. It's available in different models. What do you mean by pay as you grow? You pay for services that you consume today. You don't pay for services which are not going to be used. So you pay today, say for example, 100 services you take today, tomorrow you take 110, day after you take 120. You keep paying as per your consumption. That's point number one. Point number two, because we are talking about technology, it is very important that you be aware of the obsolescence that happens in technology. For example, anything that is discovered today, especially when it relates to hardware or software, it becomes redundant or obsolete in 6 months, 1 year time frame. So how do you protect yourselves against such obsolescence? That is taken care by the managed service provider. You enter into a contract with them. They ensure that your technology is upgraded, and your fear of technology obsolescence is taken care of by them. And third, there are a lot of regulatory compliances that is required. Like I said, if you are providing internet, if you are providing COVID mandates, so how do you ensure that these are complied without spending too much money? And fourth, like I said, when you want an event to happen, you upgrade your bandwidth, you scale up and down your network. Those things are also taken care of. And the last 2 points, which are very critical for a school which is going to focus on core business of education and not on other services. These things should be up and running 24/7 by 360. There should be any hitches in the service that is being provided. So there is a guy sitting in the central station who is monitoring your services all through the day. His only job is to ensure that as soon as a machine alerts an error or a failure or something, he immediately triggers a resolution to the field and it's solved within a certain specific time frame. In sum, when you are looking at your own deployment versus managed services, I would say it's peace of mind. That's what the whole managed services model enables any business, for that matter, or to a large extent in the context of schools. It gives you that benefit. I think I have come to a kind of solutioning and challenges and business models here. We can take it forward from there on a one-on-one conversation with each one of you. We have your email ID. If we can reach out to you with all our solutions that we have done. And before we proceed further, what proof of pudding, right? We have deployed this solution in one of our schools, Bluebells. I would request Sanjeev to explain the case study that we have deployed over there. Sanjeev.
Okay, so once again, I'm assuming that while all of you have gone through this entire program and you've seen the various challenges and the solutions which we recommend for most of the schools, but our understanding when we were talking to the schools and basis that when we were deploying solution was very, very different, because practically when you do it, you understand the problems in a much better manner. And that's what we would want to explain it to you when we are explaining it to you, the case study. So Bluebells is one of the leading international school based out of NCR region. And, what was the issue which they had, challenges which they faced, and what was the solution which we offered, we would just want to take you through. But when you're looking at it, please try to understand that this particular problem can happen with any of the school, and these issues will keep coming. So the approach is that how do we solve it in such a manner that gives a focus for the school on education and a better learning for the entire set of students. So the context is Bluebell schools had started I would say the Android-based tablet learning program, by which they wanted that across the campus, the multiple students should be able to use these tablets. And their task was that they wanted to see higher adoption of this particular tablet across the campus. And second piece was that they also wanted to ensure that the multiple labs which they have across the school also have an environment of high-speed internet connectivity so that these tablets can be used. Because end of the day, if you do not have a high-speed internet connectivity, while you have best-in-class kind of a tablet, you will not be able to use it. So this was the context which they went on with. When we were working out with them and we were designing a solution for them, some of the limitations which we understood and we were trying to address. Number one, traditionally most of the schools have different vendors, which Kanan earlier spoke about. So The network comes from a lease line service operator. When it comes from a lease line operator, that means that it has its own set of ecosystem. It comes along with its own, router, fiber, and extra thing. Then you also have different kinds of bandwidth requirement, because there are various SaaS platforms which will be used by the teachers. Some in the lower section will be different, the higher section will be different, and it is going to be resulting into different kind of bandwidth. We were also observing that when we are talking about adoption of these tablets, the adoption was going up and down. So for example, some students who are there who have started it, they're going ahead. There are new students who are coming in, the number was going up and down. How do we address this particular piece in a flexible manner? And more importantly, the entire IT clutter which gets created because you have multiple vendors offering you multiple solutions is very difficult to manage also. So these challenges which Bluebells was going through, how we could solve that was through a comprehensive managed Wi-Fi solution, which we can call it as a campus or a school Wi-Fi also, which actually resulted them to reduce their capex. Instead of spending money from their side, this was more on an OPEX model, which we took it over. This was very, very scalable model. What I mean to say by scalable model is that in case when you have limited set of students who are learning off campus or online something, the entire model can change basis that the internet connectivity, the bandwidth can go up and down, the flexibility is there. And this entire portfolio came across as a network as a service offering, which gives them an option of managed services with a fantastic security model also. So while we did that, we realized that how the schools can solve their problem, how schools can challenge, take care of their various challenges also, and can focus on education, which is the core concept of the schools. When we look at the next slide, Karan, can you move to the next slide? Yeah, some of the schools where we have already done that are, footprint in education. You can see some of these schools, and also at the same time, we are into the discussion with various schools also specifically on putting up this particular solution. And because we have done that, we've done that in various other setups also, which are other than the education. There are a lot of recognition which we have got over a period of time through the various industry bodies. So the reason why we are showing you this is that while this particular challenge was there, we've been able to make a model. The learning is still going on, and sooner or later we would be more than happy to have more and more schools looking into it and also giving us the requirement wherein we would be able to partner with them and take things forward. So this was the case study and the I would say the footprint where we are. We wanted to explain it to you. Now over to Priya.
Thank you, Sanjeev and Kanan. It was indeed a quite insightful session. Now we'll go ahead and take some time for questions now. Just a reminder, please be sure to type your questions into the question box in your control panel. I'll take the first question. The first question is from Anune. How many schools we have deployed so far? You have deployed so far?
So,
anyone?
Yeah, Priya, we've deployed multiple solutions in the school. Some of these schools have gone through only connectivity. Some of the schools have gone through connectivity and the entire, school campus Wi-Fi experience also. So the number is only growing. As of now, we would be in the range of around 15 to 18 schools, which we have already deployed this. We are into a multiple discussion with various schools, and we should be able to, keep things moving and increasing the count. But as of now, almost 15 to 18 schools across the country. I'm not talking about only, I would say NCR, be it Bangalore, be it Mumbai, or be it other parts of the country. We've been working with various schools to take things forward.
Okay, next question. How did you arrive at 30% savings?
Kanan?
Yeah, so like we have explained, Spectra has been doing managed services for close to 4 years now. We have deployed across 60 cities, maybe more than that, and about 1,000 projects. The savings that we are seeing from a customer perspective is that they are not investing upfront in capex and they are not investing in their operations. And because of volumes that we generate, we are able to pass on a lot of benefits to them. This number is a comparison of what they would have saved if they have not invested by themselves and taken the managed services. So example is that if they have to spend 100 rupees on their own, over a period of 3 years or 4 years, they would have spent only 70, and thus the derivation. There are use cases which can be explained to them. This is how we actually explain to our customers why they should take a managed services model. And this number is a empirical data which is supported by our experience over the last 3-4 years.
Okay, so next question is from Srinivas. How long will it take to implement any kind of a solution for the schools?
See, normally this entire process is being broken up into 3 parts, wherein first is understanding the current infrastructure of the school, what kind of a solution can we deploy, and finally deployment of the solution. So ideally, this entire process gets over in the maximum capacity of 2 weeks over a period of time, wherein we do a survey of the school, we understand the entire requirement, we create a solution, we have a discussion back with the school to give them the solution and take their acceptance also, and finally the delivery. So close to around 2 weeks, the entire thing gets completed.
Okay. Ritu is asking, what type of schools do you cater to?
Our solutions cover a wide range of schools. We have deployed in kindergarten. We have kindergarten specifically for the CCTV security. We have deployed in hostels for Wi-Fi. We have deployed in classrooms like Sanjeev has explained in Bluebells. So we don't have any limitations. Our solution is comprehensive and it can be catered to any kind of school requirements. Like Sanjeev explained, we study the requirements first, create a solution. It's very customized in most of the cases because every school has different requirements, and that's the reason why we are able to cater to any size or any variety of requirements.
Okay, I guess we have finished our questions, and is there anything else, Sanjeev and Kanan, you want to cover before we wrap up?
I thanks once again for the participants. It's a lovely interaction. I could see more than 50 people in the group. It's a tremendous success as far as I would say our webinar goes. And it really shows that the topic that we have chosen is of real interest, and we continue to do knowledge sharing and webinars going forward, and we seek your support on this endeavor. And in terms of knowing more about our solutions and how to get in touch with us, we will share you the contact details over the email that we have shared with us. And me and Sanjeev are available in LinkedIn. You can ping us directly as well. Sanjeev, any closing words?
Yeah. So thank you so much to all of you for attending this session, and also thank you, Kanan, thank you, Priya, for a wonderful session which we had. I would only recommend that please do visit our website, go through the various solutions which we have. We're more than happy to partner with any kind of educational institute, be it a school or a full-fledged college, wherein we would be ready to give you a specific solution based on your requirements. There is no fixed solution to it, and also depending upon the conditions changing, we would be also keen to learn more and understand the requirement and work it out in such a manner which is going to be a win-win situation for the education institute and for us also. So thank you so much once again for all of you to join this particular session, and over to you, Priya.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. And as Kanan mentioned, we'll keep on organizing many more such insightful sessions, and we'll hope to see you there as well. Thank you again for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.